Erin and Ryan are two amazing people who are making a powerful and positive impact on their community. I first met them at their coffee shop, Jack and Mary's in Schulenburg, Texas, only I'm not so sure I'd call it a coffee shop because they have breakfast and lunch food, ice cream, a retail space, t-shirts, and they even have a courtyard where, among other things, they host a farmer's market and various workshops. But most importantly, Jack and Mary's provides a communal space offering social and work opportunities for individuals enrolled in the And Then program. And Then is an outreach for young adults who are on the autism spectrum or have learning challenges. Erin is deeply devoted to working with these young adults, and even though Ryan has a day job, he is helping her every step of the way. The coffee shop was actually named after two of Erin's students, Jack and Mary, who were best friends. Erin and Ryan are living proof that one or two people can truly make a difference and help make this world a better place. You guys are the power couple. You know, I was thinking, what would your superhero name be if I could come up with one? And I could come up with is a dynamic duo. Aww. But that's really how you are, you know, and the more that we talk, I think people will really understand why I'm saying that. But let's go back to basics. When did you guys meet?
So we grew up together. Like, we are from the same town, started kindergarten together, and we were always really friends. Our first time we were officially boyfriend and girlfriend was in 3rd grade, which is kind of funny. We still joke about that all the time. We remember the first gifts we exchanged with each other for Valentine's Day. I know, it's just so weird. We were always really best friends, and then started dating in high school off and on, went to college, dated. Yeah, so we graduated, so we moved back to Schulenburg, and we didn't really know what our plan was from there. We didn't know where we were going to go or what we were going to do. So we were just kind of waiting it out, and I happened to go apply for a job to be a substitute teacher at this new place called Whispering Hills. It was a new school that was specific for kids that had learning challenges that weren't making progress in their public school. So I started working there, and it was really my first time to be introduced to kids with autism. I learned about it in school for a day.
Oh, wow.
And in 2004, we learned about it. It was like 1 page in our book. So it wasn't a lot of emphasis. Whereas now there's whole degrees just specifically for autism. So things have changed tremendously. So I didn't really know a lot about it. But I knew as soon as I saw the kids and I interacted with them that they were fascinating to me, just trying to figure out how their brain worked and what I could do to teach them in a different way.
One of the first kids you worked with, I think, was Erin. Is that right? Okay, how old was Erin when you first met him?
10.
All right, and then you also worked with two brothers, Jack and Will.
Yes, so I worked with Jack and Will. They didn't attend the school. I worked with them after school. So they were in public school, attending school regularly, but they needed extra help with language development. And so I would see them once or twice a week after school.
What did you discover about these children as you were working with them?
It was really interesting. It was like trying to figure out how to make it easier for them. You know, it wasn't this notebook that told you the rules on this is how you do it. It was a trial and error kind of thing, but it was fun to just do it in a different way. I got more training and I did, more schooling. And the more that I started learning about how their brain worked, I don't know, it was fascinating to me. It was really interesting.
What did you learn about yourself when you're teaching these kids?
I was really self-conscious about if people thought that I was smart enough. I guess because I was never the A student. Not that I was dumb, but I had to work a little bit harder. And sometimes I felt like I had to prove to people that I was really smart enough and that I could do things. And so when I started to see me working with them and them making progress, it was a shift in me because I went, okay, so it doesn't just mean that I can make an A on a test. If I can really apply it and do it, then that's really the bigger deal.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Ryan, what did Erin's work, how did that affect you and your relationship?
We weren't married yet when you
No.
started, right?
Mm-mm.
So, I didn't know like really what it is that she did, and I got asked, "Hey, we need this," and at first it was just they kicked holes in the sheetrock or something, right? And like, "Hey, can you come patch this?" And then after a while, then I got asked to come like, "Hey, we need a playground, but we need a sensory playground, and we need like it needs to be recycled and whatnot." And so then that was the first time that we like worked together. As I went and did like a sensory playground for them, and it was like, oh, okay, this is fun. I don't know how long has it been. We were what, 25?
It's been
So, it's
15,
been
16
15, 16 years that I've been witness to her with them. And so, like, for me, I feel like a part of it.
I don't really know how to say it, but I wanted to know, what does a person with autism think about themselves? How do they perceive themselves? Because I know there's very unique things, aspects of their brains, the way that they perceive their environment. And do they understand that? Are they aware of it?
So I think that the biggest thing about autism is it is a spectrum. So they're all completely different from each other. And sometimes you have, some of them who they're nonverbal and they can't speak at all, and their cognitive level is really low. To you have really high functioning ones that they're really brilliant, and a lot of times very talented in certain areas. But then simple things like being able to look at someone in the eyes or say hello or have a conversation or even take a shower are really big struggles for them. But I think the biggest thing for them is they don't always typically learn naturally from their environment, where we can kind of read the room and look at people and watch their body language and kind of assess what's happening, and we can navigate based on those things. They don't necessarily understand that, so they have to be specifically taught how to do things, how to interact, how to talk, how to communicate. Sometimes I explain it like there's lots of things and lots of information in their brain, but it's not like filed away in the filing cabinet in each individual file the way that it's supposed to be. So it's kind of just all in there jumbled around. So it's really trying to figure out how to organize their brain in a way that helps them.
I want to go back to Jack for just a minute, because I know you started working with him initially, he and Will, in I think it was 2005. And then in 2010, you reconnected with him, and you had sent me a write-up that you did on him, and you said, Jack was just a young boy who made people feel better. And I think that's so sweet. Can you explain that a little bit more?
He was a special little boy. So when I first started working with him, he was 4. So Jack was he had a lot of language and he was social, but he didn't always know what to do in social situations. He was a funny little boy and loved certain things, loved Halloween, loved Star Wars, loved Super Mario Brothers. He had his things that he was very much into. He was good. He was doing really well. It was then in 2010, as he was starting to get older, that things started to become challenging for him again. His anxiety was getting the best of him. He was hyper-focused on wanting things to be right and correct. And when they weren't, it was hard for him to navigate that. He was a great student, but he had to work really hard at it. His parents and him worked each night working on homework, where it took, 30 minutes or an hour for everybody else to do homework. It might have taken them 3 hours. And he always wanted to do it because he was a pleaser. So he also was that kid that no matter if he was having a bad day, he still was thinking about somebody else. That was the deal with Mary and them becoming best friends when she moved here. They were a good duo.
Let's explain who Mary is.
Mary is a young lady. She's 21 now. And in 2nd grade, that's when Mary and Jack were introduced. And They were fast friends and they became best friends. And a lot of people didn't always understand them, but they understood each other. And they both had that common desire to make people feel welcome.
So in 2011, in April of 2011, very unexpectedly, Jack passes.
It was unexpected. It was right before his 10th birthday. And he just passes away. And he was my second kid to ever lose as a teacher. Obviously, it's never easy, but this one was really hard because they were part of my family. I mean, I had now this family that I had met when he was 5, we were family friends now. And so it was like a piece of our family had just gone away. So it was tough.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Up to this point, all the interviews we've done have been with people who have experienced a crisis directly in their lives. Even though Jack wasn't Erin's son, his passing had a huge impact on her faith. I know that this affected you both profoundly, but this was really more like the ripple effect of Jack's passing and the effect that it had on you.
Yes. So, Jack's mom, Deanne, and I became friends. Mm-hmm. She was just not just a good person, but she was she was just strong, and she was just an inspiration to me, just the things that she did and was doing for her boys and her family. She's really, she has a deep faith. And so when he passed away and she shared the story of him getting sick, and it was towards the end that, she shared some experiences and the things that he communicated with her right before he passed away. And I remember when she told me that, and I said to myself, he doesn't lie.
He can't lie, if I understand correctly.
Because of his autism, he is so black and white.
Okay.
He's very literal. So it's this way or it's this way. So when she shared that with me, I went, okay, he can't make that up. He's not making that up. That's really what he saw. It's really what he felt. And so that was really my aha at that point, to go, okay, this is something, and I need to know more about that. Before, I was just going through the motions of, yes, I believed in God, and yes, I had faith, but I would check the box of going to church on holidays and whatnot. And yes, I would try to make, good choices, but it wasn't a true relationship. What he said as he was dying is something that will remain private, but what it did is it made Erin realize that Jesus is alive and real, and that she wanted to pursue a personal relationship with him. Ultimately, through Jack's passing, Erin's life was changed for eternity. I think that everything in life has got a ripple effect. It can be good, it can be bad, but there's always things that happen after the thing that happened. Mm-hmm. And Jack's passing had an effect on you. So I just began to try to get some more answers, I guess. And because Deanne was such a faithful person, she was really, I just started asking her questions, and our relationship became a lot of her sharing and teaching me. And I remember going on a retreat, and I remember the conversation and saying something like, well, why does God care about me? And they were like, because he loves you and he cares about you. He cares about everybody. And I just was like, but I'm just one person. And it was this thing of, okay, there is a bigger picture. There is a bigger plan. And it's already laid out for us. We just have to listen.
Do you think that your newfound relationship with Christ kind of put you in a position for God to really use you in a way that he could work through you?
I always felt like I had these little tugs at me that I would make decisions and I really didn't know why I was making that decision. So I feel like he always had a part in those things, but I never acknowledged that it was him. But as things have played out, and especially recently, there's things that have just fallen into place and have connected that it's too much of a coincidence for it to not be.
It's too much of a coincidence for it to be a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. 11 years later, after you worked at Whispering Hills, you reconnected with Erin, one of the first children that you worked with. And how old is Erin at this point?
He was 23, 24. So once you're in public school and you can graduate at 18, but then you can choose, when you're in special ed, you can choose to stay in until your 22nd birthday, then you age out, right? And then at that point, you're on your own. So that's what he did. So he was 22, aged out. He was working with a job coach, a young girl who was doing great with him until it wasn't. And he was struggling. And I ran into his parents at a winery, and they don't drink wine. And I went, "Hi, how are y'all?" Like, I hadn't seen them in so long. You know, it had been a really long time. And they told me that Erin was struggling and that they were about to lose his job coach and that they didn't know what they were going to do. And I went, "Wow, okay. Well, I just quit my job and I don't know what I'm going to do." I'd taken a part-time job and I just was like, "Well, I'll figure it out." And I said, "Well, maybe I can help you. Let me see what I can do." And I started working with him as a young adult and how to figure out how to make his daily life meaningful as a young adult, because they don't have a communication system that is always effective. Sometimes it can come across in behavior. And that's the case with Erin. He's not nonverbal, but he has limited verbal skills. And so he's a really big guy. He's 6'3". And when he didn't want to do something, he couldn't just tell you, "I don't want to do that." It came out in, "I'm going to, scream, or I'm going to, have a fit." And so it looks different and it's hard. But it was really just trying to find what it is that he wanted to do and could do.
So you're working with Erin, and he's aged out, and I'm thinking there's nowhere for him to go. There's no program. There's nothing. And did you have another student after Erin that aged out also?
So yes. So I was working with Erin, I guess, about a year, and then soon after that, then another one of my original students was now aging out. So it just was kind of fitting that, okay, well, maybe we can figure out something for him to do too. And so that was when, and then was really created.
Okay, we need to put in bold letters "and then," because that's the name of the program that you guys started for the adults, the kids that had aged out that didn't have anywhere to go, which is totally awesome.
So I have to give Ryan credit for that. He was the one that named it. He was the mastermind behind the name of it, because it just was this, because you just say, "And then what? And what are we going to do now?" And it just, we're trying to find there, and then this is what you're going to get to do.
Everybody always talks about, like, what happens when they turn 22. It's called the cliff, right? Like, it doesn't matter where in the semester. You don't graduate. You turn on your 22nd birthday, you're no longer allowed to come, and all the money goes away. So that's why everybody concentrates on early intervention, and then they turn 22 and you fall off the cliff, and then parents are just, "Oh no, what do we do?" And so, like, when I would listen to Erin talk about the problems, she would be like, and then, like, it was, and then, like, a question. And then so we named it "And Then a New Day." So when Erin first started, she would tell me about the statistics and whatnot. And back then it was like 1 in 87 students had autism, and now today the stats coming out of the school district is like 1 in 57. So the rate continues to go up and up, and so there's just more and more people that are going to be in this situation, and there's there's really not a lot of places to go. And so it's one of those that I know that it was never her intent to like do this on a large scale or even anything bigger, but there's more people out there that need help with it than you think.
I want to mention some of the programs that you offer through and give me just a sentence or two about each one, because each one of these is so amazing.
Really, the first one that we really made was our recycling program. So here in our town, we don't have a curbside recycle pickup. When I first started working with Erin, he was only working for 30 minutes a day. And so his parents were struggling, like, I've got to get him out of the house, not just for him to be doing something and being active, but also they needed a break. And so that was really my first challenge on what am I going to do with him for for longer than 30 minutes a day. And I remember we had just moved and I was drowning in our recycling in our garage. And I just was going, oh my gosh, I can never get over there to take this recycling. And so I went, well, what if we had people enroll and they would put the bags out and then we'd just come by and pick it up. He already knows how to pick up a trash bag. He can put it in the back of the truck and he likes to drive in the truck. And so this would eat up a lot of our time too. So this would be time that he wouldn't be, at home. Like, what if this would work? I put it out on Facebook and people were like, I'd sign up for that. I'd sign up for that.
Yeah.
And here we are 4 years later and our recycling program has grown. And now it's part of our day program that we've started, which that is for our young adults that wouldn't typically be able to be employed somewhere. So they are with us each day and they do things from social outings to jobs within the community to different programs that we have. We do gardening, we do the recycling program, we make different goods that we sell to generate money for our programs.
And that's all part of the day program.
That's all part of the day program where they come and they get to be there every day, and it gives them their activities for the day. So that's been our biggest thing that's grown this year is our day program. It's getting these young adults who have just been sitting at home not doing anything, a place for them to go and feel like they're part of something, and also do tasks within our community. Because that's the biggest thing that I want to show people too, is that they can do so much. And the things that we take for granted that are really easy tasks for us or a nuisance to us, those are great things that they can do, and that they can feel like they're being helpful and that they're doing something for somebody else. So we have our social outings that we do too, because a lot of times, our young adults not understanding social cues and just how to navigate that whole thing, and understanding friendships and how to make friendships and what to do with friendships. Not everybody knocks on our young adults' doors to hang out with them. And so we try to create this group that they quickly realize, okay, I am enough and you're enough and we're enough together. And this is really fun. And so we go and do different outings, from going to the river to bowling to out to eat to sometimes just hanging out together. I think what it is that they all have this common goal that they just want to be heard and feel included. And that's what they do. They know that they're not being judged. They're not, they're not getting looked at as less than. And so when you feel safety and you feel trust and you feel like you are loved, then it just works, right?
It does. And, what I find really interesting is that you don't just focus on the people that you have enrolled in your program. You have caregiver support as well.
We also understand that it's important for their families to get a break and to feel heard and to feel like they are supported too. So we have respite gatherings to where it's just they get to come and hang out and have fun, and they have free time too, whether it's they're just going to go sit and have a glass of wine by themselves and just sit and do nothing to I got to go to a doctor's appointment, or I have to go, whatever they need to do. So we do. And we also, just keep expanding. We just really like to look at what's the need and how can we help you fill that need.
Ryan, you were telling me a story a while ago about a family that you had come in, and they had an 18-year-old, and the parents had never been out to eat in 18 years.
We just recently started working with him. So he is nonverbal and still not potty trained too, by the way. And so it's a whole nother challenge to things, right? And so I introduced this thing to them called social stories, which are basically because they like structure and they like to know what's going to happen. A lot of times when you just say, we're going to go out to eat, or we're going to go to the store, they don't know what that means. Mm-hmm. So being able to give them a visual picture of what is going to happen helps ease their anxiety, so they can understand the steps that are going to happen. And so I just make this little book that's just like pictures of real life pictures of, it's a picture of him and he's going to go with mom and dad and it's their picture. And it says, we're going to go to a restaurant and we're going to sit at the table and you're going to eat and da-da-da. And it changed things for him. It made him understand what was going to happen.
Okay.
And it eased his anxiety. And so the last session that we had, they were just smiling ear to ear. And I went out to eat and it worked. And so we went 2 days later and it worked again.
The first time in 18 years. Wow.
Yeah. And I just went, good for you. You're doing so good.
You're not just influencing individuals' lives, you're influencing families' lives, and you're changing their lives. That's just a beautiful thing. You mentioned Eleanor Lee's art show a while ago, and we need to talk about that. That's a pretty incredible thing.
It was a magical night. So that's our newest program, is our entrepreneurial program. And she was really the one that launched that. And we started with that. Eleanor, I first started working with Eleanor when she was 7. She had some struggles as she got into high school age. Her anxiety was really affecting her. And she started to develop trichotillomania, which is when you pull out your hair because of your anxiety. And so she had created a bald spot in her hair because of her anxiety. And so she had to wear a hat, and she wore a hat for 5 years. And because she was looking the way that she was looking, she started to get bullied in school. And so her parents made the choice to homeschool her, which was a really good choice. She had always loved art and really kind of started with flowers and, maybe some cats and dogs. But as she got to her teenage years, she started drawing these faces. And they weren't your normal faces. They were very elaborate and just kind of really edgy and funky and really amazing. And started off,
reminds me of Picasso.
It totally did. When I first saw it, I went, oh God.
Yeah.
That's really cool. When we opened Jack and Mary's, I asked her mom, I was like, do you think that she would paint some paintings that we can hang in the shop? And she was like, well, I guess we can. So she started doing that. And I went to her mom and I said, this is something. She can do this. This could be her job for her. Like, yes, it's her therapy and this is therapeutic for her, but this can be something to where we can sell this and she can fill her orders and she can make something of this. And she was like, whatever, no, we're not doing this. And I'm like, let's just do it. Let's do an art show and let's do it. And so we were supposed to do it last November and it got canceled due to COVID. And so we got to do it last Saturday, and it was the most magical night I have ever been a part of.
Everybody, welcome to Jack and Mary's. Thank you so much for joining us today for Eleanor Lee's art show. This has been a long time coming, so we're super excited to get to share this with you. She's worked really hard and has put a lot of work into this show for you guys tonight. Oh, it's been amazing. It's been a ton of work, but so worth it. I mean, getting to see Eleanor happy and confident and excited makes every hour I didn't get to sleep worth it. So I'm just so proud of her, and she's worked really hard, and I just want her to be happy. And today, I think she's super happy. So I'm happy.
She was on cloud 9, smiling, laughing, I've never seen her so good. It was really good.
She
And
had how many paintings?
36. And as of today, she has 7 left. And she also sold 7 custom paintings that night.
I wish I had been able to make that. It really sounded amazing. I love the way that y'all think out of the box, because it sounds like in order to really succeed with what you're doing, you have to be able to think out of the box.
Yes. I mean, I just feel like we're just trying to give them an experience that everybody deserves, right? Like, everybody should deserve to be in a place that's cute and hip and fun and sassy. And I mean, it doesn't have to be boring and sterile and look like everybody else's.
Yeah.
And so that's my thing. I just want them to feel like, I don't want them to feel like they don't have an opportunity to be a part of something really cool because they are who they are.
I like to go to Jack and Mary's. You know, I had no idea about it. The first time we went there, I met Ryan first, and I was talking to him, I think about the song or the radio or something, and I was telling him how much I liked this place. He said, well, you know, this is just a front. You need to talk to my wife. She's got a whole lot going on in the back. And then I talked to you, and I was captivated by the story of this place and what it did, and I was so drawn to it. I mean, I am a firm believer that 1 or 2 people can make a difference, and you guys are living proof of that. And your story is so inspiring, and I wanted to tell it because I hope that it'll inspire somebody else, you know, somebody watching it, somebody that's thinking, you know, really, I want to do something, but I don't have the resources, I don't have the money, I don't have the personality, just whatever I don't have. That, no, maybe you do, and you're just not stepping out and being brave and trying it. And what would you say to somebody in a situation like that who's thinking that?
I mean, it only takes one person. It is just one. It doesn't. You don't have to help a gajillion people. If you're helping one, you're doing something. Mm-hmm. And that one person isn't just one person, because it's really the people. It's the ripple. It's the people around him that you're helping, and it just keeps overflowing. And I think that, you know, what we're doing it's not rocket science. It's not. And people tell me, oh, I mean, not everybody can do this, but really we're just doing something out of love and trying to help somebody and really having fun while we're doing it. So I feel like anybody can do this at their level where they are.
Yesterday, I was listening to somebody talk about the Dead Sea, which is one of the saltiest bodies of water in the world. And with a level of salinity that high, it is absolutely impossible for plants and animals to survive. That's how the Dead Sea got its name. Now, the reason that it's that way is because there is no outlet. Water can flow into the Dead Sea, but nothing flows out of it. And I think the same thing can be said for us. God pours these unique gifts and talents into each and every one of us. But if we don't give those gifts and talents an outlet and use them to help others, then we're not really living the lives that God created us to live. Nothing will be flourishing, and before we know it, we're going to be just as stagnant as the Dead Sea. Erin and Ryan saw a need in their community, stepped out of their comfort zone, and took action. They are using the unique gifts and talents that God gave them to help others, and as a result, an entire community is flourishing. Not all of us may be called to impact an entire community, but we are called to use the gifts we've been given. In Matthew 25:14, Jesus teaches a parable about this very principle, that God gives gifts and talents to each one of us according to our abilities, but then we're expected to use them. We don't have to look far to see someone who needs help. It could be a loved one, a neighbor, or a complete stranger. Take a second and ask yourself, what gifts do you have that you could share? What gifts do you have that could make someone's life better? Are you an encourager, a teacher, a carpenter, an engineer, or maybe you're in a season of life where you have the gift of time and you could volunteer somewhere? Don't wait until the situation is perfect and everything falls into place before you do something, because that will never happen. It's so easy to find ourselves in a state of paralysis by analysis as we look at all the reasons why not to do something. Instead, find a need, step out of your comfort zone, and take action. As long as our motives are pure, God's going to take care of the rest. He gives each and every one of us precious gifts, but what we do with them is our gift back to Him. Thank you so much for joining us.